This video is sponsored by the programs on building your wealth, linked down below, and the experience to shadow me if you'd like to do that in person. Check out all of that, linked down below. You get lifetime access to all of the content, the course member live streams, and new information that's regularly added. We need to talk about the train derailment because there's a fight going on between Marco Rubio and Pete Buttigieg. There's also a fight going on between Trumpists and Obamaists. So there's a lot of this left-right fighting going on. And y'all know me as Mr. in the Middle. I ran for governor as Mr. in the Middle. I came in second place out of the candidates. I won San Francisco. That was really cool. I gotta go visit San Francisco and pay my respects. But the point is, I want to go through some of the reality of what's actually happening. So we're going to look at some of the letters that are being talked about. The letters, very, very important. We're going to look at what is the Senate saying. We're going to look at what courts are saying. We're going to get a little bit of a different perspective on what actually happens with the train derailment and potentially what caused it. Now, this is really important because obviously right now in East Palestine, thanks to the train derailment, a lot of people getting sick right now, and it's kind of scary. We don't want to see that because, well, after all, there are going to be massive lawsuits. People are doing their individual testing. Why? Because they don't trust the government to do the testing for them. In part, one of the reasons people don't trust, and I'm going to get into some of the letters, in part, some of the reasons people do not actually trust the government are because of the nonsensical responses that we're even getting from the governor of Ohio. So obviously, if you haven't heard, there was a trail derailment at the beginning of February. One of the issues was that one of the rail cars' wheel bearings overheated. When it overheated, it led to a fire. 50 train cars derailed, and they spilled a bunch of toxic chemicals. Now, rather than just leave the toxic chemicals or try to continue cleaning them up because of the hazards associated with cleaning them up, the rail agency or the rail company decided it'd be a fantastic idea to just conduct a quote-unquote controlled burn and burn the chemicals, leading to a toxic plume of black smoke and people complaining about dead chickens thanks to all the toxic air, dead frogs, dead fish, nasty chemical odors throughout the town, people complaining about rashes and coughing up blood and issues that they haven't previously had. This is despite the fact that the government is trying to suggest, oh, everything is okay. Don't worry, our testing suggests everything is fine. Of course, now there are allegations that the testing that's being done was actually being done by the railway and their contractors. And so the EPA is kind of like, okay, y'all need to go test and let us know what those tests say. Oh, wow, and lo and behold, if the company is involved in conducting these tests, wow, everything is safe. Don't worry. You could drink the water and the air is fine. Look, listen, after COVID, nobody believes that. That's why people are doing their own testing right now, and people are like, I don't know how you're saying there's no contamination. I smell it, right? I feel it. It'd probably be a good idea not to be in this area, but let's listen to the governor. And I hate to say it, but this is probably the most embarrassing clip for this governor. This is very, very bad, but listen to the governor of Ohio, and then we'll get into some of that fighting that's happening between Marco Rubio and the Senate and so on. So let's go ahead and listen to this clip right now.
These folks have given results to the water testing that are accurate. I mean, a lot of these folks are rightfully untrustful of these tests. The initial tests that were done were being done by Norfolk Southern.
No, look.
They were being hired by independent contractors from Norfolk Southern, correct?
Look, these are tests. The tests that we are doing, we're doing double testing. So you know.
Notice he doesn't deny that the railway is actually conducting the tests, right? But it gets worse.
Testing is being done by the Ohio EPA or the U.S. EPA.
Okay, that was not the case to start, though.
Well, let me just,
why it is?
We continue to do that testing.
Gotcha. One more question, if that's okay. So the what took so long to get FEMA involved here? Go ahead. What took so long to get FEMA involved?
Look, the most important thing was
reaching out to the federal government. You would on an interview I watched, you said straight up that the President Biden said that he would provide aid. I don't think he's done nearly enough, and I think a lot of residents here do. But you said you didn't return the phone call. It seems like it's been thing after thing.
I didn't say that. You know, look, the president called me and said, "Anything you need." I have not called him back after that conversation. I will not hesitate to do that if we're seeing a problem or anything, but I'm not seeing it.
Why isn't there federal money now for these people to move?
Well, there should be, but Governor DeWine has to ask FEMA to come in, and he hasn't done it yet.
You didn't say that?
No, I I did not say that at all.
Come on, man.
What I said was the President of the United States called and offered...
Or you hadn't called back.
Excuse me.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, you're not letting me finish.
Classic.
The sentence. So, look, the President of the United States called and asked if there's anything else we can do. I told the President that the U.S. EPA had been here from the beginning. Within hours, they were here. They're working very, very closely with our Ohio EPA. So they're going to continue to do that.
Gotcha.
And that's what's going on.
Well, I hope you all make...
Okay, first of all, shout out to the person who says, looks like Bill Gates' long-lost brother. That's hilarious. Anyway, that was terrible, okay? That's a terrible show of basically as soon as he got caught in a lie, turning around and, you know what, you're not letting me finish my sentence and walking away. I'm sorry, Mr. Ohio Governor, you're probably not going to get reelected after this disaster. This is very, very embarrassing. Now, we've got to talk about these spats that are going on between the politicians. And I want to give you some real insight into maybe what's actually going on here. Because listen, there's nothing I hate more than politicians cherry-picking bullcrap about who's actually at fault in these issues. I can't stand that kind of stuff. And so, right now, one of the things that you have going on is you have Marco Rubio, Pete Buttigieg, spatting on Twitter. And I want to show you the reality first. And this also leads into Trump versus Obama, okay? And this is the whole idea here is to show you what's actually going on, okay? So first of all, Marco Rubio says, hey, Secretary Pete, why were you MIA on the trail derailment? And it is kind of derangement, but anyway, derailment. Then Marco Rubio says, Pete Buttigieg lies to the media, claiming my 2021 letter calling for more track inspections was a letter calling for deregulation. He is an incompetent who is focused solely on his fantasies about his political future and needs to be fired. Okay, so Marco Rubio doesn't like Pete. That's obvious. Marco Rubio is a Republican. Pete is a Democrat. It works for the Biden administration as the head of the Secretary of Transportation. So, Pete Buttigieg replies and says, the facts don't lie. The 2021 letter you signed was obviously drafted by the railroad industry's lobbyists. Well, first of all, that's an opinion, the second part. So we're already conflating opinions and facts. But let's see what the facts are, right? So Pete Buttigieg goes on and says, the letter, supports waivers that would reduce visual track inspections. Oh, shit. That doesn't sound good. Wait a minute. Marco Rubio, did you sign a letter that would reduce visual track inspections right before a derailment thanks to a wheel bearing failure? And now Pete Buttigieg continues and says, now, will you vote to help us toughen rail safety, accountability, and fines or not? In other words, Pete is taking this idea that the railroads are at fault and you contribute to it because you called for less visual inspections. But you want to know what the fact is? And this is why, in my opinion, you come to the channel here. This is why you come here. The fact of the matter is, that letter is right here. And does the letter actually call for less visual track inspections? Listen to what I'm saying. Visual track inspections. And the answer is, yes, that is true. Pete is correct. It supports reduced visual track inspections. But guess what it also does? Is it replaces visual track inspections with better, more efficient, automated track inspections using technology. So see how, like, you get politicians who try to screw with you? Let me read you some of this. A critical step in the utilization of new technologies is the Federal Railroad Administration waivers and testing programs that provide the freight industry the opportunity to achieve the next level of track, equipment, and employee safety improvements. Basically, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit here, what they basically do is rather than solely rely on individual people conducting visual inspections, they instead rely on data monitoring and technology that measures how are our wheels doing, are things more shaky, what are the algorithms saying, and now you could take that labor and allow that labor to go to where the abnormalities are to find where defects are. Now, This piece here alleges that these ATI, these automatic track inspection programs, have proven safety benefits of this concept. These tests have resulted in an over 90% reduction in unprotected main track defects per 100 miles tested. Now, hey, maybe this letter was written by some lobbyists, right? That's possible. That is possible. And so we're going to do some more research here in just a moment. And I'm going to show you how this politician stuff just grinds my gears. But I want to be very clear. Yes, Marco Rubio signed a letter. Right there is a signature. Yes, Marco Rubio signed a letter that calls for less visual inspections. Fact. However, false that the letter actually was calling for less safety. It was actually calling for more safety and better inspections. Now, how do we know that the automatic technology is actually better? Well, this is where you could look at a case that was basically litigated by the United States Court of Appeals between the Federal Railroad Administration, and then basically the unions of the railroads. Okay, so you could look at this case. It's a case that was decided on July 15th, 2022, case number 21-1049. And short of going through every bit of this case, let's look at some of the salient items for it. First of all, they talk about these waivers, and they actually uphold visual waivers in favor of automated technology because the studies provided directly by the unions show that they're safer to use automatic technologies, whether it's for braking, brake inspections, or just track inspections. This court case upholds that the studies do show an increase in safety from automatic inspections and waivers. When we hear certain waivers, right? When we hear waivers, we automatically think, oh my gosh, waivers and less inspections, that means less safety. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. In fact, the industry is working to get better. And I'll show you what's potentially actually standing in this, because I'm not a shill for the railroads, okay? Like, let me be like crystal clear about that really quick. Like, the railroad effed up here, okay? They highly screwed up over here. Massively screwed up. It's obviously a for-profit institution. I get it. They screwed up. They got a lot of work to do, and I would not trust the tests at all. So I want to be very clear about that, right? So I'm not here to like shill the railroads. I'm here to show you how politicians manipulate what's actually happening. What's actually happening is you have both sides that want more automated inspections, but now they're pointing fingers at each other for complete nonsense because they're kind of both trying to get things to be safer, both the Republicans and Dems, but they're pointing the finger at each other going, no, you want less safety and you want less safety, which is not actually true. And so the next thing that comes up is people start talking about brakes. Okay, well, why did we go from automated braking under the Obama administration and calling for more automated braking under the Obama administration to less automated braking via the Trump administration? Okay, so immediately that's an argument that's circulating on Twitter that says, oh, all the Trumpists are for deregulation, they caused this accident. You know, we should have stuck with the Obama era stuff. Okay, well, this is where it gets really nasty, okay? And I'm gonna keep this simple, but watch this. Here's a document. And I'll tell you, I've been up like all night researching this stuff. Here's a Department of Transportation letter talking about electronically controlled pneumatic brake devices, basically automatic braking systems. And the biggest, like, these are great. These automatic braking systems work. They're fantastic. They're great. Like, they improve rail safety, right? But they have some problems with them. And now you're going to, now it's not this part, but the problem that comes after this, you're going to see where the real problem, in my opinion, is potentially. And then this is going to be like the aha moment where it's like, oh shit. Anyway, watch this. Okay, ready for this? So in the conclusion, they talk about how great these braking systems are, the automatic braking systems, but they talk about how there are actually some issues they have not actually found solutions for yet. They say, look, there's some software issues. Even after we're fixing the software issues, some of our tests are failing. There are backward compatibility issues. We basically need new train cars. We need newer systems. We have issues. Look at this. They literally say here, there are issues presented during testing for which a solution cannot be identified. So there are still problems with some of this new technology, right? And so then you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so there's new technology that would make railways safer, right? Like, why don't we use that new technology that would make railways safer? Okay, I'll tell you, this is the big, like, What the F? What the F? You want to see why we're not investing more in trying to get this technology, the automated braking systems, the automated inspection systems, and making them function better? Here it is. Here's just an example for you. Rail Labor files joint comments on the railway agency's standards. And take a look at this one right here. The Brotherhood Railway Carmen, this is a union, right? BRC, joined with 4 other rail unions to oppose new regulations from the Railway Authority. And here it is, among other things, the unions argued against proposed changes, innovative changes, mind you, for the following reason. Reason number 1, the regulatory framework right now is already good enough. Fine, whatever, I'm paraphrasing that. I'm gonna read you this one word for word. Reason number 2, the railway unions do not want more of the innovation. Here you go. The changes would lead to decreased safety by having fewer brake inspections, fewer timely discoveries of defects and other problems, and by allowing risks associated with brake system degradation to actually increase across the rail network. That doesn't sound good, right? Translate that for a moment. Less labor. It's a union. The whole point here is you have a union. And what does a union want? A union exists. It literally exists to increase union membership and to protect employment for employees, which means more employees. What did the regulators want? Both Republicans and Democrats. What did they want? More automation, better inspections. So in other words, physical waivers and automated inspections that do a better job, as well as automated brakes. But somebody is standing in the way going, we don't want automated brakes. We don't want inspections. And I hate to say it, but the smoking gun appears to be the unions. It's not Pete Buttigieg. It's not Marco Rubio. I don't think it's Dems or Republicans. I think they all want more rail safety. I think it's unions who are protecting the reason they exist, more labor. Now, look, I'm not saying unions are bad, okay? I'm just saying, from the research that I've done, it appears to be that there are ways to make trains safer, but unions do not want labor to be replaced. Duh, that's why they exist. So what's an easy way to do that? You stand in the way of innovation, which could actually be better than human labor. Now, I want you to think about this logically for a moment. What do you think is better at determining whether a brake should stop, or like a train should stop, or if there's a track defect? An algorithm that's measuring vibrations and is, thousands of times per second measuring how a train is moving through a train system, railroads, or a dude walking by with a clipboard going, no, looks good, and keep going. Come on, it's obvious. It's so obvious. Now again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the unions want to have their jobs replaced by algorithms that do the job better. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't think I am. And I hate to say it, but it's this kind of bullshit on Twitter that's so wrong. Marco Rubio didn't sign something saying we want less regulation. And Pete Buttigieg is not talking about the real problem because guess whom the unions often vote for? But then what happens is after Pete Buttigieg tries to basically call Marco a liar, you get all of these comments from people that are like, how does self-professed and a proud Christian like you square with the fact that you regularly break the 8th commandment, which is like, thou shalt not lie or deceive people, right? It's like, he didn't. Like, it's not that. I'm sorry. It's so freaking frustrating. And look, this is what I try to do on the channel. I try to look at, like, from a first principles approach here, what's standing in the way? What's actually causing the problem? I guarantee you, it ain't the bullshit tweets going back and forth that are gonna solve anything. They're not gonna solve anything. All they're gonna do is piss Americans off more. But I don't give a crap whether you're a Democrat or Republican. I think if you just watch this whole segment on the Ohio train derailment disaster, you're looking going, oh shit, Come on, man, that's ridiculous. Like, this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's a union issue. Just saying, okay? Like, and then of course you get all like, I feel bad because like, I get hate on the internet too. I try not to pay attention to it, but like, I feel bad because it's like, people are calling each other liars here, and it's like, there's so much more than you can explain via a tweet, but I guess people's attention spans are too short to actually like learn. This is why I have courses on building your wealth through the psychology of money, through real estate investing 0 to millionaire. Because people honestly don't understand the things they don't even understand. It's unconscious incompetence, right? They don't even know that they don't know. I know I don't know everything regarding this, but I've already gone through that phase of at least trying to crack what's actually happening, right? I know I'm not a train expert. I don't know anything really about trains, right? But at least I know enough to realize I don't know, and I want to learn more. This is like when people are like, oh, Kevin, you should just hire somebody in different areas to go look at real estate for you. They don't understand why I am physically going to the places I want to buy real estate, because they don't even know that they don't know. They don't realize they are at such a low level of competence that they are just completely incompetent. And they will never wake up to that because they don't allow themselves to wake up to their incompetence, because it's so much easier to remain incompetent because that's popular. If you're an incompetent idiot spouting bullshit on Twitter, you happen to get a lot of likes from other incompetent people. And that's popular, so it actually encourages you to be incompetent. How the hell am I supposed to explain what I just explained in the last 10, 15 minutes here in 140 characters on Twitter? It ain't gonna work. And even if I manage to do it, it's not gonna get a lot of likes, because what gets likes on Twitter is the incompetent shit. It's so frustrating. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I get so heated about this stuff because I feel like the people who watch my channel and I feel like most people are good people. Everybody's trying to do the best they can with the information they have. But people get basically just getting lied to because it benefits the liars, basically, because they get more like likes and hits and stuff. And it's just like, this is why the mainstream media is broken. It's like, why is the mainstream media so divisive? Because, well, it gets way more hits and clicks. Being neutral, very hard. Very, 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 very hard. And anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I had to go through that. That was a disaster.